Hi, my name is Ray. Welcome to another episode of Ray's Economics Cluebook. Today, we'll be expanding our ADAS model and talking about our short-run aggregate supply curve. Last time we talked about the aggregate demand curve, and this time we'll talk about our mini unit on the aggregate supply curve. There's a short-run and long-run aggregate supply curve, which the long run we'll touch later as to why we separate these two. So first, we have the short-run aggregate supply. Short-run aggregate supply basically is the exact opposite reflection of the aggregate demand. It slopes upwards, so as price goes up, quantity supplied increases, and vice versa. Now, aggregate supply basically. The main reason behind why aggregate supply slopes upwards is because as price increases, profitability in the short run increases, and therefore suppliers will want to supply more. The reason for why profitability increases as price increases is of course because wages, which are the main supply costs for suppliers for the most part, wages are difficult to change or readjust in the short run. So as prices increases, in the short run, wages tend to stay the same or relatively the same. So your profitability will increase as your costs basically stay the same. And so as price increases in the short run, profitability and supply increases, and vice versa if price decreases. Now, of course, that's just shifts along the short-run supply curve. There's also shifts of the short-run supply curve, just like the shifts of the the aggregate demand curve in general. So we look at a shift here, a shift to the left. A shift to the left for the short-run aggregate supply curve means that in the short run, at every single price level, the new aggregate supply curve supplies less in quantity at each price level. Now, of course, there are four main reasons for this. One is raw material or commodities decrease in supply, or basically increase in cost. The most famous example in American history for this probably would be the 1979 Iran oil embargo, where U.S. and Iran foreign tensions increased, and some things happened with OPEC that resulted in a tightened supply of oil to the U.S., which of course increases cost of oil, which is of course a major component for many suppliers and producers, which of course shifts their supply curve left. A second cause for shifts in supply curve would be unit labor costs. Unit labor costs fluctuating. For instance, if the minimum wage increases, then overall all wages will probably see a ripple effect where they increase, and as a result, supply shifts to the left, and as the labor cost increases and profitability decreases. And so, of course, in 2019, 20 states in the U.S. I believe are supposed to increase the minimum wage, so that we could probably see something like this happening in real life. A third reason would be regulatory costs increasing. The most prominent example would be EPA restrictions or environmental restrictions and regulations that would, for instance, a pollution tax that would, of course, increase production costs for a producer that would once again shift their supply curve to the left in the short run. And finally, we see productivity changes. Productivity basically, as your production efficiency decreases or increases, your supply curve will probably shift. For instance, let's say Amazon Web Service. AWS recently went down for 1 hour, and many companies rely on AWS or Amazon Web Service for their online interface. So as AWS went down, production efficiency for many companies such as Netflix slowed, which of course in the short run and during time will shift their aggregate supply curve to the left. Of course, if the opposite happens for all these four reasons, for instance, raw material costs decrease or productivity increases due to a technology advancement that helps laborers produce more efficiently, or regulatory cost decreases, then the aggregate supply curve will shift to the right as profitability increases and supply increases at every price level. So for our final clues, it's just important to note that just like aggregate demand, there's a difference between short-run aggregate supply curve slides up and down and a shift to left and right. The curve sliding up and down along the curve is caused by price level fluctuations for the most part, but the SRAS curve shifting left to right, just like AD curve shifting left to right, is caused by outside effects. So that's for our video today, and thank you, and see you next time. Bye-bye.